Recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, that's an inauspicious start to my presentation, but I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank members of the committee for having us here today and for this hearing. Although I don't serve on the Natural Resources Committee, I do have the honor and privilege of representing the entire coast of Georgia, over 100 miles of pristine coastline, and it is my home. It's where I've lived all my life, where I intend to live the rest of my life. Mr. Chairman, appreciate you visiting not long ago, earlier this summer, and appreciate you having the opportunity to go out fishing with me, and it was a great experience. Number one issue that I want to talk about is something that this committee is very familiar with, and that is NOAA's proposed rule to regulate vessel speeds to protect North Atlantic right whale. The committee, as I say, is well aware of this issue. The proposed proposed rule, I should say, will cause grave safety issues for recreational vessels and pilot vessels alike, as it presents a navigational concern for traversing our nation's shipping channels and at sea. The National Marine Fisheries Service is proposing to broaden the Atlantic right whale strike reduction rule by requiring vessels 35 to 65 feet in length to maintain a speed of roughly 11.5 miles per hour for much of the East Coast. That is not acceptable, and it's not doable, and it's just... I'm incredibly worried that the speed restrictions imposed by NOAA's rule would all but shut down the thriving communities we have up and down the East Coast. Communities like ours in Georgia depend on the ocean for our livelihoods. My district relies heavily on trade through our two major seaports, the Port of Savannah and the Port of Brunswick. This proposed rule would cause unnecessary confusion and safety concerns for those navigating the federal channels to these ports. Simply put, when harbor pilots face rough conditions, they should not be second-guessing their ability to speed up and navigate to safety. We have a vibrant blue economy that includes fishing and recreation of all kinds and depends on using vehicles of all lengths and sizes to do business. In short, this would crush recreational fishing along the coast of Georgia and on the East Coast, not only in Georgia, but also up as far as Maine. And I know that y'all, again, are very familiar with that. Estimates say that this rule could threaten up to 340,000 American jobs and negatively impact nearly $84 billion in economic contributions. That, again, you're well aware of it, and and this may only be the beginning. Let me remind you that the rice whales in the Gulf of Mexico have recently received similar attention, with some suggesting similar vessel speed restrictions in the Gulf of Mexico. So NOAA may not stop with this, and that's something we need to be very, very concerned about. I'm also proud to lead a bipartisan effort to oppose NOAA's proposed rule by introducing the Protecting Whales, Human Safety and the Economy Act of 2023. This bill would prevent NOAA from implementing this proposed rule until the Department of Commerce can fully implement new monitoring systems for North American right whales already approved in Congress. Also, I would like to bring to your attention another bill, and that is one that Representative John Rutherford has, and that is the Red Snapper Act. This bill would prevent NOAA from implementing area closures in the South Atlantic until the Great Red Snapper count is complete and the findings are integrated into the fishery stock assessment. The Great Red Snapper count is an independent study Congress has funded over the last 3 years that will deliver new reliable data on the abundance, the genomics, and the mortality of the red snapper stock by 2025. While the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council has rejected proposed closures, the threat remains and would be devastating for anglers in my district. Lastly, I wanted to bring up a very important issue in my district, and that's along the Okefenokee Swamp, which is part of the Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge. This was established in 1937. The refuge is one of the world's largest freshwater ecosystems, home to over 1,000 species with hundreds of acres of wetlands. We're proud to have this area here. It's truly a unique natural wonder in our state, and we treasure it. The Department of Interior recently announced its intention to nominate the Okefenokee Swamp for inscription in the UNESCO World Heritage List. I've supported their effort by my own community to receive this designation, and I'm eager to share the swamp with the entire world. With that said, as we pursue this designation, I ask that the committee ensure that the Department of Interior or any other federal agency remain committed to the personal property rights of those in the community. As I mentioned, the inscription at Okefenokee Swamp on the UNESCO World Heritage Site is a homegrown effort for our community, but the landowners around the swamp respect that, but they want to conserve our environment more than and they want to conserve our environment more than anyone, but they do want to make sure that they have their personal property rights included as well. So that's the things that we're working on. I want to thank you again, and thank you, this committee, for having this hearing today.
Thank